Hello. This video is sort of about recursion. The first suggestion I have is that you watch the recursion video by Professor Karchner. And once you've done that, you can open up this Mandelbrot song lyrics. What does a song have to do with recursion? Well, we'll talk about the lyrics of the song. If there's a YouTube link here by the at the very top and also at the bottom, if you want to watch the Mandelbrot set Zoom, it's called a Mandelbrot Zoom. So here's the lyrics. On the left-hand column are the lyrics themselves, and on the right-hand column is an explanation. So it starts out, "Pathological monsters," cried the terrified mathematician, "every one of them a splinter in my eye." So he obviously had been a mathematician, or at least taken courses, and he understood the history of mathematics. In 1899, Poincaré published a paper that said logic sometimes makes monsters. And he was referring to some of the, they didn't have the word recursive then, but some of the recursive geometrical forms like the Pinot space, the space-filling curve, the Koch curve. So Jonathan Colton goes on, I hate this Pinot space and the Koch curve, and I fear the Cantor-Ternary set, and the Sierpinski gasket makes me want to cry. So he talks about these various forms of pathological monsters, and then he goes into sort of what you would think would be another phrase. He says, "A million miles away, a butterfly flapped its wings." What in the world is that about? How does that relate to recursion? So in the past couple of decades, what's called the new sciences have arisen, including something called chaos theory. In chaos theory, the idea is that you can't predict a nonlinear system's eventual outcomes by understanding its initial conditions, because a tiny little modification in its initial conditions will large and undecipherable impacts on the outcome. So this mathematician Edward Lorenz, I think he was in the 60s, coined this phrase, the butterfly effect. Now, the butterfly effect dates back to a short story by Ray Bradbury in 1952 about time travel. Of course, they had time travel, and all the science fiction stories have a little bit about time travel. So this rich hunter contracted with a firm that does time travel. He wanted to go back and bag a dinosaur. So they found a dinosaur. The company found a dinosaur that was going to die in the next couple minutes anyway. And they sent him back and told him to stay on this certain path. Well, he didn't obey them exactly. He stepped off the path and stepped on a butterfly. Then when he returned, he bagged the dinosaur. Then when he returned to the future, he found that everything had changed. The only thing that was different, as far as he could tell, was that one stepping on a butterfly. So that was what Edward Lorenz called the butterfly effect. Now, and that's what Jonathan Colton in his song suggests happened. It's a metaphorical thing. It didn't really happen. But this man named Benoit Mandelbrot was born in 1924. He was born in Poland, migrated to France and then America, and he was a mathematician, but also mostly interested in geometry, and he had a special way of understanding geometry insights. He was working for IBM when he thought of the idea of self-similarity and so forth. And so he was famous in the mathematical community for writing a short paper in, I think, the 60s called "What is the Length of Britain?" And of course, you look on a little toy globe, scaled, of course, to the right amounts, but maybe the mileage is 2,000 kilometers, who knows. If you zoom in to a 1 to 50,000 map with all the inlets and so forth, you maybe double that to 4,000 miles. If you keep zooming in, theoretically, beyond the bounds of physics, you get larger and larger lengths. And his mathematical, geometrical idea was that the length of the coast of Britain is infinite, depending on what level you want to zoom to. So he had a very unique view of math from the perspective of geometry. And he actually coined the word fractal, which, believe it or not, is derived by computers anyway, using this chaos theory and self-similarity and using recursion. So in the lyrics again, it talks about infinite complexity could be described by simple rules. That's another way of talking about emergent behavior, which is another one of the new sciences. And he derived something called the Mandelbrot set. Now, this is an example. What's in black here is the Mandelbrot set. The colored regions are regions that took a long time to show that they were not gonna coalesce on a single point. So he derived a Mandelbrot set, and it's called that in his honor. And here's the recursive formula. A value z goes to z squared plus c. Z, so in the chorus, and one of the funny things about this song is in one concert, according to Wikipedia, he had a bunch of grad students who sang the chorus along with him. So who imagines singing a chorus about mathematics, about recursion? So let z1 be z squared plus c, let z2 be z squared plus c, z3 is z2 squared plus c, and so on. And the idea, if the series of z's will always stay close to z and never trend away, the point is in the Mandelbrot set, what's called the Mandelbrot set. So there's the simple recursive formula that generated this complicated Mandelbrot set. Furthermore, there's this, well, I would say it's famous, but you probably haven't heard of it, called a Mandelbrot Zoom, where you zoom in on one of these tiny little places. In fact, assuming that you get it exactly right, you can zoom in infinitely, except infinity is not an actual physical concrete value, but you could continuously zoom in, and assuming you had the compute power, you would find these Mandelbrot sets. So the line I love the most is, Mandelbrot's in heaven, at least he will be when he's dead. Right now he's still alive and teaching math at Yale. Well, that ended in 2010 when he died at the age of 85. But Jonathan Colton, and you could disagree philosophically with why one goes to heaven, but he said that he gave us order out of chaos, gave us hope where there was none. His geometry succeeds where others fail. So that's the description of the Mandelbrot Zoom lyrics. And if you'd like to go watch the video, you can click on the link and watch the Mandelbrot Zoom.